And I think a lot of buyers, when they do swipe past an auction property, they're actually missing an opportunity to buy a property, right? Is that they can speak to you and I and get a bit of an idea of where the property might sit from a pricing point of view. By actually scrolling straight by, then they're actually missing about a third or half of the market at the moment that is going to auction. So their dream apartment may be for sale. And to your point, if they put an offer in beforehand and we can put a deal together and the seller's excited, why would we not sell?
Yeah,
so
absolutely.
It's not about the auction day for the seller or the buyer. It's about when the deal is right. And if we find the right buyer on day one, then we sell. If it's at auction, great. But if it's a week post, so be it. So it's not necessarily about the auction and that day and the clearance rate, but I think everybody gets fixated on that 1 hour auction time frame instead of the 21 days prior to the auction or post-auction if need be.
Yeah, 100%. And I think a lot of buyers share the frustration with the private treaty as well. The very open-ended negotiation, right? Like we hear from buyers every week, and I know Jim, your offside business partner, does as well on the buyer side. Buyers make an offer over the weekend, they get stepped out to the Monday, the Tuesday, they're not hearing anything from the agents, and the next thing around weekend is here, another showing, and next thing they know that the property's sold, and it's sold for a price that they would have been prepared to pay, but they didn't put it forward straight away. So at least with the auction process, look, we're giving a set deadline when the property will be sold by, so it's actually encouraging people to come in and put their best foot forward a lot of times as well.
And a lot of the non-auction properties do just have the word for sale on them too, right? So they're not any clearer around price than an auction is. So
well, they use the same terminology as an auction. You read the ads; they all have that disclaimer down the bottom. Property marketed without a price, we can't help you pretty well. So a lot of agents are trying to replicate that auction process without actually creating the competition, and they're ultimately doing a disservice to their owners at the end of the day because they're ruling out a lot of buyers. Buyers are skipping past the property because there's no price guide, the agents can't help them, and there's no deadline. So there's no real end in sight for the negotiation.
I think we're fortunate that we do have an in-room auction room. We do have an auctioneer on staff. So also around the costings of it for sellers, it doesn't cost too much different if you're auctioning or not auctioning. We're very fortunate that we do have an in-room auction room. We have an auctioneer on staff. So there's not a big cost discrepancy there from the sellers either. And from buyers, like we said, I think it's the transparency that I like around the auction process and the engagement that you have as a buyer. I know that you and I, if you actually submit an offer as a buyer, we'll always come back to you. And even if the offer's not accepted, then at least we're engaging with you through the process. Where if you do go to a for sale or a just listed property, I know that a lot of buyers do just get frustrated with that process. To your point, they speak to the agent and then ultimately the property sells a week later for a property they would have accepted, but they weren't engaged through that process. So auctions are a lot more transparent, and I think everybody thinks it's very opaque, but the normal private treaty process is very opaque.